Welcome to the Bay. We're diving right into one of the toughest decisions in PC building today, that mid-range GPU sweet spot. Get this wrong and your whole build can suffer. And right now, there's a huge battle brewing for that exact spot in your rig. So yeah, let's get into it. The big showdown between NVIDIA's RTX 4060 Ti and the RTX 4070.
So picture this, you're ready to build. The case is open, the parts are all laid out, but that one crucial component is still up in the air. This is a classic standoff at the hardware harbor, isn't it? Do you go for the card that's a little leaner, a bit easier on the wallet? Or do you spend that extra cash for more horsepower down the road? Making the right call right here, right now, is absolutely key to avoiding that dreaded bottleneck. So to help you figure this out, here's how we're going to tackle it. First, we'll set the stage for the showdown. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the frames per second battle. After that, we'll look at features and future-proofing, weigh the specs against the price, and finally, we'll give you our verdict on which card is the right fit for your rig. All right, let's officially meet our two contenders. In one corner, you've got the RTX 4060 Ti. Think of it as the power-efficient workhorse, really aimed at giving you a fantastic experience without totally emptying your bank account. And in the other corner, we have the RTX 4070, which NVIDIA has positioned as the true powerhouse for beautiful, high-fidelity 1440p gaming.
Okay, so let's break down their core identity. The RTX 4060 Ti, which usually goes for about $399, is an absolute beast when it comes to traditional gaming, what we call rasterization at 1440p. Then you have the RTX 4070, sitting around $549. Its big claim to fame is handling those really demanding ray-traced graphics at that same resolution. And that $150 price gap? Well, that's the central question we're trying to answer today.
And now for the main event, the part you've probably been waiting for, the frames per second battle. For this, we're pulling all our data straight from our partners over at bestgpusforgaming.com. We're going to see how these two cards really perform in some of today's biggest games at that all-important 1440p resolution.
First up, Cyberpunk 2077, but with all the fancy ray tracing stuff turned off. The 4060 Ti does great. It hits a solid 60 frames per second. That's the gold standard for smooth gameplay. But the 4070 just pulls ahead, no contest, hitting 78 FPS. That's a whole different performance tier, giving you so much more breathing room.
But watch what happens when we flick on ray tracing. The whole story changes. The RTX 4070, it holds its ground, staying right above that smooth 60 FPS mark. The 4060 Ti, on the other hand, takes a real hit, dipping down to 46 FPS. Now you can really see where the 4070's extra power comes into play. That performance gap just got way wide.
So, what about competitive games, where every single frame counts? Let's look at Warzone at 1440p. Both cards are fantastic here, giving you a killer high refresh rate experience. The 4060 Ti is pushing a solid 115 FPS. But again, the 4070 stays in the lead, pumping out an incredible 140 FPS. This just proves its advantages and only for those cinematic single-player games.
So when you boil it all down, here's the key takeaway. On average, across a whole bunch of games, the RTX 4070 is going to give you about a 25% performance boost at 1440p. And let's be clear, that's not a small difference. That is a significant leap that you will absolutely feel when you're playing.
But performance is about more than just frame rates. The real question is, how long will your GPU last? That all depends on its tech and its ability to handle the games of tomorrow. So let's look past the FPS counter and talk about features and future-proofing.
And this, right here, shows you the single biggest difference between these cards under the hood. The RTX 4070 is packing 12 gigs of that faster GDDR6X memory on a wider 192-bit bus. The 4060 Ti, it's got 8 gigs of GDDR6 on a much narrower 128-bit bus. Seriously, think of the bus like a highway for all your game's data. The 4070's highway is just wider and faster, and that's absolutely critical for handling massive textures at high resolution.
Which brings us to probably the most important question for anyone looking at the 4060 Ti. Is 8 gigabytes of VRAM really going to be enough for the games coming out in the next few years? We're already seeing new games push right past that 8 gig limit at 1440p. This could be the 4060 Ti's Achilles heel down the line.
Okay, we've seen the performance, we've talked about what's to come. Now let's get down to brass tacks, the hard numbers, the specs, the power needs, and of course, that all-important price tag. This is where we figure out the true value.
This table lays it all out pretty clearly. You can see the VRAM and bus advantages for the 4070 we were just talking about. But, and this is a big but, look at the power draw. The 4060 Ti is crazy efficient at just 160 watts. That means you can use a smaller power supply and it'll run cooler. The 4070 needs a bit more juice at 200 watts, but honestly, that's still really good for the kind of performance you're getting.
And hey, just a quick reminder, all this data comes straight from our partners at bestgpusforgaming.com. They are an awesome resource if you want to go even deeper on this stuff after you're done here.
All right, let's do the pure bang for your buck calculation. If you look at its price and its average performance, the RTX 4060 Ti gets you about 0.21 frames per second for every single dollar you spend. On paper, that's a really strong value proposition.
Now, the RTX 4070 comes in just a tiny bit lower, at 0.19 frames per dollar. So if you only look at this one number, the 4060 Ti looks like the obvious winner, right? But this metric doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't account for the much better ray tracing, that bigger VRAM buffer for future games, or just the overall smoother feel that the 4070 gives you. Okay, we've looked at the data from pretty much every angle. Now it's time to bring it all home and answer the real question. Which one of these cards should actually be docked in your motherboard? Let's get into some specific recommendations.
First up, if you are a 1080 esports grinder, I'm talking Warzone, Fortnite, Valorant on a high refresh rate monitor, the RTX 4060 Ti is, without a doubt, a brilliant choice for you. It pumps out crazy high frame rates in the games that matter most, and its lower cost and power draw mean you can build a lean, mean, competitive machine.
But if you're a 1440p single-player enthusiast, someone who wants to crank all the settings to max in games like Cyberpunk or the next big AAA title, the RTX 4070 is the clear winner here. Its raw power, that crucial 12 gigs of VRAM, and its superior ray tracing, it all adds up to a much more comfortable and just, wow, visually stunning experience.
Let's hit two more quick scenarios. If you're building in one of those cool, small form factor cases where heat and power are a huge deal, the incredible efficiency of the RTX 4060 Ti makes it a fantastic pick. On the flip side, if your number one goal is just maxing out visual fidelity, pushing ray tracing to its absolute limits, then yeah, the RTX 4070 is the card you want, period. So in the end, it really all boils down to this one question you have to ask yourself. Are you building a cost-effective rig that's perfect for today's games? Or are you investing just a little bit more to prepare your build for the more demanding games of tomorrow? The 4060 Ti is an amazing card for right now. The 4070 just gives you that extra peace of mind for the future. Hey, for the absolute latest pricing and even more detailed charts, make sure you dock your browser at bestgpusforgaming.com. The perfect choice for your rig is out there. Keep it cool and keep building.